Hey guys, so we're back with chapter 4 of Smoldering Hunger. I'm sure we're going to see Darius's perspective on meeting Dr. Sophie Martin, and I'm sure there'll be massive amounts of info dump because, of course. But before we dive into the chapter, there was something that I want to address. So, if you recall in chapter 3, there was this lovely line of balls being slapped against one's leg. Now, I thought about it a little more after the fact, and I had a discussion with a few of my friends about it. Logistically, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay, think about it. If she's up against the wall, and he's holding her up against the wall, and inside of her, the assumption would be that her legs are wrapped around his waist. So, how? I don't care what kind of force you're using. How do his balls slap against her leg? I mean, they would be slapping other parts of her, because I don't know, he's thousands of years old. They may be a little dangly. Things happen, but that doesn't make any sort of sense whatsoever. And if her legs are down and they're not wrapped around his waist, then I don't really understand how the sexy part worked in that entire situation. If you have experiences to the otherwise, please by all means let me know, but yes. Anyway, now on to chapter 4. I do want to tell you that I'm having a little bit of trouble with the dialogue because she's using, it's supposed to be read with that Scottish brogue accent thing going on, and she's written it in that manner. So a lot of her words are like don't is Duna, Doona, instead of don't. So I'm converting it for you guys because I'm not going to read it that way. Like it's just, I can't do that accent. Anyway, on to chapter 4. Darius knew walking into the hospital was a bad idea. As soon as he entered, his gaze searched for red hair instead of keeping his focus solely on Ulrich. Ulrich's path through the hallways had been casual, almost as if he were taking a stroll through a park. He didn't look inside the rooms or talk to anyone. Darius remained far enough behind him not to be noticed, but Ulrich was the Dragon King. He knew Darius was there. The way Ulrich acted was almost as if he wanted Darius to follow him. Can we substitute Ulrich for he? Like, why do we need to keep saying this man's name? And when Ulrich finally halted and leaned against the wall while eating a bag of pistachios, Darius knew why. He prayed he was wrong for once. Then Sophie came into view, and it was like a punch in his gut. Darius actually took a step back. His gaze was locked on her, and his lungs seized. How had he stayed away from her? He hadn't forgotten how stunningly gorgeous she was, from her pale skin that looked like cream to her vibrant red hair that felt like cool silk in his hands. He drank her in as if he were starved for the very sight of her. From her oval face to her almond-shaped eyes to her incredible lips, she was hypnotic, spellbinding, magnetic. Darius licked his lips, recalling the captivating taste of her. Even weeks later, he could still recall how it felt to have her tight sheath clamped around his cock as she peeked and her nails cut into his neck from her grip. Wouldn't it be his back? Dr. Sophie Martin might appear as calm, as cool as a porcelain doll to the world, but he'd seen her fire, he'd felt it, and it flamed it higher. It rhymes! She'd been wild and uninhibited in his arms. The mask she wore had been stripped away without even his trying. He wasn't even sure if she was aware of all that she had shown him while in the throes of such passion. Nor did Darius want to think about what he might have given away. He'd wanted her, but he'd been wholly unprepared for a strong visceral reaction to her. It was why he'd kept away from her, well, that among other reasons. Yet now that she stood just down the corridor from him, he realized what an utter fool he'd been. Darius forgot all about Ulrich, forgot about why he had been following him into the hospital. Darius was about to go to Sophie and pull her into his arms for a kiss. He watched as she looked at Ulrich, then her gaze slid away and landed on him. Darius waited to see a look of delight or even a hint of a smile, but she turned away as if he were a stranger. So all those emotions he's feeling, she can't see it on his face? Like, I don't understand. Again, I don't know if I'm the most expressive person out there ever, but when you're feeling reactions like that, there's something on your face. Like, something has to show. Or these two are just really fucking terrible at reading each other's emotions. And again, communication is key here, people. As if they hadn't shared an earth-shattering moment weeks earlier while Edinburgh burned. Well, maybe he should have fucking called her. Darius was so shocked by the cold reception that he could only watch as she disappeared into a patient's room. When he blinked, Ulrich was walking away. Darius had no choice but to follow. He glanced inside the room. Sophie entered and saw her standing beside the bed of a woman who had been obviously beaten. Darius could hear Sophie speaking softly to the woman, telling her that she would heal, but if she didn't take action against her husband, that she might not be so fortunate next time. He fought against his instinct to remain near Sophie. It was no accident that Ulrich entered the hospital or walked to Sophie's floor. Ulrich did nothing without a reason. The repetition is killing me, you guys. There was a slim chance that it was purely a coincidence that Ulrich had gone to Sophie's floor, but Darius knew that was rubbish. How did Ulrich know of Sophie? Unless he'd seen Darius with her that night in the streets. Darius had been so wrapped up in the woman in his arms that he hadn't paid attention to anything else. It shocked him how easily she'd managed to make the world fall away. Darius took one more look at Sophie, standing straight as an arrow with her long, thick red hair piled once more behind her head. He wanted to yank her hair down and shove her against the wall to take her once more. He hadn't imagined the passion that blazed within her, and he wanted to prove it to her. Another time, he murmured to himself. Sounds like a threat. Even as he wondered why, after swearing to stay away from her, Darius lost Ulrich in the throng of people entering and exiting the hospital. By the time he found Ulrich a few moments later, Ulrich was flirting with a pretty brunette. Still reeling from Sophie's reaction to him, Darius walked to a bench and sat, waiting on Ulrich. God help me. He was able to keep an eye on Ulrich, as well as get a clear view of that hospital entrance. Darius wasn't surprised when Ulrich ended his conversation with the nurse and came to sit beside him. Neither said a word as Ulrich cracked another pistachio and popped the green nut into his mouth. I figured you'd remain behind and talk to her. Darius clenched his teeth. Shit, just as he feared, Ulrich was there for Sophie. He and Thorn had taken great pains to make sure Sophie was never seen helping them heal Lexi. That meant Ulrich discovered Sophie from Darius' carelessness. Fuck, he'd really buggered things this time. What do you want with her? Darius asked. Ulrich tossed aside more empty shelves and shrugged. She's attractive, if you like redheads. I've always found them to be extremely enthusiastic in bed. Darius didn't respond. There was nothing he could say that would help Sophie's case, especially when he wanted to tell Ulrich to kiss off. Ulrich cut him another look, a sly one upon his lips. I didn't think you'd be so careless as to get tangled with another female, Darius. Not after your past. You know, everybody has broken hearts. Everybody has shitty relationships. Most of us, because we're rational, normal, functioning fucking people, move on. Yes, everyone gets their heart broken. It sucks, but it's a healing process, and then you move on to better and bigger things. Good Lord. Darius took a deep breath and slowly released it, attempting to keep his anger under control. He'd woken from his long sleep as angry as when he'd sought out his cave. Consequently, it didn't take much to set him off. It took an incredible amount of effort for him to keep his mouth shut and his hands to himself, when all he wanted to do was shift into dragon form and go for Ulrich's jugular. Instead, he took a page out of Constantine's book. He pushed all the rage and all his emotions aside until there was nothing. Only when Darius was able to respond, I'm not anything with the doctor. Always with the same response. Sorry, let me read that again. Always the same response given. What? Oh, jeez. I was hoping you'd be more creative. How do you know I have not already contacted Khan? Ulrich shook his head and shot Darius a smile. Because of the doctor. You want to know what I'm about before you inform Khan I'm here. That had been Ulrich's gift before he went rogue and was exiled from Drigan. He'd always been able to figure out people, no matter what they hid. Khan knows you're here. Ulrich laughed and reached into a bag for another handful of pistachios. If he did, he'd be here. Oh wait, he cannot get here fast enough since he has to drive. Darius wanted to wipe the smirk from Ulrich's face. The crowd of people around them kept him from where he was. The smugness in Ulrich's voice as he mentioned how none of the Dragon Kings could take to the skies threatened to break Darius' calm, but he managed to hold on to it. My battle with Khan is coming soon, Ulrich said. Pitting us against each other here will not do anyone any good, not at the moment, at any rate. You've done what you wanted. You've clipped our wings, Darius said, for now. Ulrich finished chewing and swallowed before he said in a tight voice, why do we care that he's eating? Just have a fucking conversation. I wasn't able to shift into my true form for thousands of millennia. Do not talk to me about having your wings clipped. For the briefest second, Darius saw the fury in Ulrich's gold eyes before it was tempered. He'd gone a mere few weeks unable to take to the sky, but Darius had been able to shift. Ulrich hadn't been able to do either for too many centuries to count. As awful as Darius imagined that was, it didn't excuse Ulrich from the atrocities he'd committed in the past few years. If you hate Khan so much, why not just go after him? Darius asked. Ulrich stood and wadded up the empty bag, because fucking with all of you is too much fun. Darius knew it was more than that. Ulrich was too cunning to waste time causing trouble. Each assault, each strike was calculated. So you'll destroy our entire race because you were exiled? I wasn't merely exiled, or have you forgotten so easily? Ulrich's half-smile hardened, his gold eyes becoming icy. All of you killed her. That was my right for her betrayal. And instead of wiping the mortals from our realm, you and the others chose to protect them. The very ones who were going to try and kill me. The ones who were responsible for our dragons being sent away. You want to know if I'll destroy all of you? I'll do it with a smile on my face. If you're the only Dragon King left, you will not be able to fight the Dark Fae who will want to take over this realm. Do you think he gives a shit? I mean, come on. Not a shred of emotion crossed Ulrich's face. Darius hoped to read something in his old friend's visage to help determine what Ulrich planned, but once more Ulrich was proving to be a master of hiding his plans. How much you guys want to bet that we're going to eventually get a story on Ulrich, and he meets a woman and falls in love with her and becomes reformed? Darius stood, putting them eye to eye. You want to fight Khan, then fight him. We all know what's coming is between the two of you. Do you now? Ulrich chuckled softly. Aye. Darius kept his gaze on Ulrich even though he wanted to look around the hospital. Ulrich had proven in the past that he was more than capable and willing to kill any woman who could be a mate to a king. Darius wasn't going to allow Sophie to become mixed up in this. He'd do whatever was needed to keep her out of harm's way, which meant away from Ulrich. She was only involved because he had brought her in. Darius made it worse by seeking her out to make love to her. If he walked away now, there was a chance Ulrich would turn his attention from her. I want all of you to understand how it feels to be trapped in human form without any way out, unless you have a warehouse big enough for you to shift and burn dark bodies. So Darius had been followed. How had he not known it? He was normally very attuned to that sort of thing. It grated on his nerves that Ulrich was one-upped him again. Maybe if you stopped thinking about Sophie and you did your goddamn job, you wouldn't have these problems. So your focus is on me now? Darius asked. You saved Lily for Race only to kill Darcy to hurt Warwick? Darius left out the part about how they saved Darcy, who was living happily with Warwick at Dregan. Ulrich tossed the bag into a nearby trash bin. Well, at least he doesn't litter. Perhaps I'm here to save Sophie. Darius didn't believe that for a moment. Ulrich had proven that he wasn't to be trusted an inch. Yes, he had helped save Lily, but he's also harmed the kings in more ways. You don't believe me, Ulrich dusted off his hands. I could tell you all my secrets right now, and you wouldn't believe them. You've proven yourself a liar who's only after his own agenda. And you were not after your own agenda 2 weeks ago when you took the pre-doctor against the building? Ulrich asked nonchalantly. You seem rather intent on your agenda. Darius fisted his hands to keep from striking Ulrich's smug face, so they'd been watched by Ulrich. Ulrich had seen her passion, her desire. He'd heard her cries of pleasure. The bastard. Darius wanted to make him pay for witnessing what he alone should have seen. Never mind the fact that he had taken her on the street. Yeah, I mean, maybe you should take her to a hotel room or something. Or, I don't know, found an empty room in the hospital. Just saying. Ulrich laughed softly. That blank stare you're giving me reminds me of Khan. Unfortunately, your clenched hands tell me a different story. You care for the doctor. She was a female. It had been a long while since I had such release. That was all. Is it? Ulrich asked with a smirk. What kind of passion? With that kind of passion? Don't bother with such lies, Darius. Darius closed the distance between them so that he was almost nose-to-nose with Ulrich. Too many innocents have paid the price for our war. I do not want her or anyone in that hospital harmed because you believe I hold some feelings for the mortal. Ulrich stared at him for a long time. If you wanted to hurt me, you'd have already done that by making sure I cannot fly. You've done what you wanted. Leave, Darius demanded. My plans are just getting underway. Besides, I've no interest in leaving Edinburgh just yet. Go ahead and tell Khan. We can have our battle right here. Darius knew Khan would never condone such a thing. Khan took his vow to protect the humans too seriously to battle Ulrich to the death in front of them. He moved in front of Ulrich to halt his turning away. I'm not going to tell you again to stay away from the doctor. Ulrich said with a sneer. Is one of you finally going to step up and challenge me? Damn, Darius couldn't. Khan had already called that option. You've got to be joking. Khan's got dibs. I didn't think so. Ulrich gave a bark of laughter. What a pity. I thought the old Darius might have returned, but you're still the same broken dragon. He glared into Ulrich's gold eyes. If you're looking for a fight, I'm right here, though it will not be a fair fight with you having only some of your magic. Ulrich's smile was cold. You think you know so much. You know nothing. None of you do. When it all comes down, you'll realize just how many pieces of the puzzle all of you are missing. Trying to change the subject? Ulrich held his gaze, his smile hardening. His smile has hardened twice. His eyes have turned icy twice. The man just keep him with a hard smile and icy gaze. The fuck, does he soften in the middle of the conversation? Not at all. A shout of pain pulled Darius' gaze from Ulrich over his shoulder to a woman who was on the ground writhing in pain. Keep pushing me, Darius. I have no problem hurting any of these beings, Ulrich said. Darius thought of Sophie and the hundreds of people in the hospital. He recalled his oath to protect the humans, and though it went against everything he was, he didn't slam his fist into Ulrich's face as he wanted. Or rip him apart. That's what Darius really wanted to do. The warrior of old, the lethal dragon that struck without remorse or hesitation, reared its head. Darius thought he'd lost that warrior spirit long ago. He'd felt a stirring of it a few weeks ago, then more and more each day. Then today he knew it was back. He was back, the dragon he'd been before tragedy struck. It's 'cause he had sex with Dr. Sophie Martin. She's magic. Now he had a target and someone to protect. Ulrich wasn't going to know what hit him by the time Darius was through with him. The woman's screams became louder as people gathered around her and hospital workers rushed out to help her. This wasn't the time to remind Ulrich of his place in the world. That would come soon enough. Darius thought of Sophie working in the building behind him, saving lives. He pictured her olive eyes, her smile, and he managed to remain where he was, in complete control of his fury. One day soon you'll know the secrets Khan has been so desperate to keep from all of you, Ulrich said as he walked away, his smile too smug for Darius. The woman's scream stopped and she was helped to her feet a moment later. Darius wanted to talk to Sophie, but he followed Ulrich instead, right up until Ulrich vanished into thin air a minute later. Okay. End of chapter 4. That was a lot of info dump and exposition for no reason. I guess it's a way to set up new series and stuff and whatnot. But we're only 5 chapters in. Well, 4 chapters in. Chapter 5 will be soon, and this thing has like 46 chapters, so I don't even know how it has 46 chapters. The book is only 334 pages long. I don't understand this. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you soon with the next chapter. Please don't get so worried about what's going to happen next to Sophie and Darius, because clearly they're going to end up together anyway. But, bye.